Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and welcome to the Blue Collar Wine Show. Today we're going to do bubbles. And of course the reason we're doing bubbles is because in a couple of days a lot of you are going to be celebrating Christmas, you're going to be drinking sparkling wine in celebration of the holiday, and then of course a week from then is New Year's, where many more will be involved in drinking bubbles. I'm a huge bubbles fan. I love champagne, I love cava, I love prosecco, and domestic sparkling wine. So I'm excited about this program. Today we're going to try 7 different sparkling wines, EBF, everything but French. We'll do French next week. Today we're going to be drinking some sparkling wine from New Mexico, a couple of Proseccos. What else? Oh, we got a sparkling wine from New Zealand and one from Washington State. So let's get started right away. We'll start with the Prosecco. Now Prosecco, a little bit unlike the method Champenois, they use the Charmat method, which is where they take the juice, they put it in pressurized steel vats, and they do the secondary fermentation. They have the yeast and the sugar, do the secondary fermentation in the pressurized stainless steel vats, which is a whole lot cheaper way to go about doing it. And then they do a reverse pressurized filter and put it in the bottle, and there you get the bubbles. So you don't get the effect of oak, or you don't get in the dosage, no disgorging, none of that. And that's why Prosecco is such a value play, because many of them are a lot less money than champagne. And of course the reason I'm showing these particular types of wine is because many of us, we're on a budget, we can't spend a boatload of money on sparkling wine. So it's nice to find good sparkling wine at good values. We don't have a cava here today. I was going to take another episode of cava, which is from Spain, and those are also a great value play. So the first one we're going to try is the Avisi Prosecco, and the grape is referred to as Prosecco, but it's also Galera. I hope I got that right. I'm going to cheat here a minute because I always get that messed up with all the other grapes that are out there. It is Glera. Exactly, that's the grape that is in Prosecco. So let's take a look at this. Avisi Prosecco. This Prosecco rolls in at $17. Come on, there we go. Let's give it a rinse. The thing I like about Prosecco, I often describe Prosecco as Avion with bubbles. Very clean, crisp. It doesn't have a lot of the lees, any of the lees influence, although they do make Prosecco with that is much more expensive that they do in the method Champenois. So let's give the Avisi a whirl. Let's do some scent searching. I'm going to stick with that one. I like it. So the thing with Prosecco, at least in this particular case, I get a really kind of a dustiness on the nose. There's not a lot going on, really, to tell you the truth. Get a little hint of pear, maybe a little bit of apple. That's about it. Not a huge bouquet on this one. Big ass bubbles on that baby. Man, that thing just exploded in the mouth. Whew. And this is just a personal thing for me, but I like a little finer bubbles on mine. But this is very delicious in the palate. It's got almost like a creaminess. You almost could go in the Cremant description of this wine. Very interesting flavors on this. I get like a kind of a yeastiness, like a pear with a little yeast sprinkled on it, and maybe just torched it a little bit with a little bit of a flame, giving it kind of a burnt flavor. And I get like this interesting, like it's not corked, don't get me wrong, but interesting, like you chewed a little bit on a grocery bag or something. I don't know, that's what I'm getting out of it. Sorry, just trying to get the flavors. Very clean. Some interesting notes coming through on the palate. It's not my favorite. I've had Proseccos with a lot more elegance. Bubbles weren't quite as massively exploding in your mouth. And the flavors are a little challenged. Like I said, it's hard to get a lot of really good flavors out of this one. I'm going to give this one a C-. Let's move on to the next one. We have the Borgo Alato Prosecco DOC. This one rolls in at $10. You can see that. Okay. If I quit moving around, you'd be able to see it, right? So I sell a ton of Prosecco at the store. People love it because it's clean, like, you know, and like I'm saying, that's not a, I've just tasted better Prosecco than that. Let's just get that flavor out of that one. Here, let's move on to this one. So, let's give it some scent searching. Right off the bat, I get more like a real prominent apple notes on this. Kind of almost like a sweet pineapple thing going on. Definitely a sweeter smell on this one. Let's see what we got. Still big bubbles, but this one much more interesting on the palate. It's got a little ginger thing, a little spiciness on it. There's pear, apple. A very creamy kind of finish, which I like. Good finish, almost reminds me of a, you know, kind of an apple pear mesh with a little bit of apple skins thrown in there. Very delicious. In fact, I even get a little bit of a spice action on the backside. Some like what is that? Maybe a little nutmeg, kind of marzipan, which is interesting because they don't put these on the lees. Very delicious, nice one. $10, friends. $10. I'm going to give that one a B-. Liking that one. Let's move on now to a New Zealand sparkling cuvee, and it's called Sephora. It is 52% Chardonnay and 48% Pinot Noir. Let me show you the bottle. Actually, the bottle's kind of awesome. I like the bottle. A little bit dark. There you go. Nice label. Like it a lot. This one rolls in at $18. Let's see what we got. I'm not going to rinse all these because, you know, we're dealing with sparkling wine. White wines, not so critical. Go over there. I know Robin's going to give me a bunch of crap for the setup of this, but what can you do? I mean, I got all these bottles. I'm in the middle of the window, though. I know that. I can see that. Let's give it some scent searching. Okay, this one's kind of like the first one. There's a lot going on the nose. I wonder how many people actually take time and smell their sparkling wine. Now, you know, as wine geeks, we say sparkling wine because it's not from Champagne, France. And, you know, I think that's important that, that region has its own name. Just like if somebody made a cab in Idaho and put, you know, Boise Napa cab. We'd go, what, are you ridiculous? It's not from Napa. We protect our regions in the United States. Well, you know, the same is true with sparkling wine. Champagne should have their own designation, just as Prosecco does now. You can't produce a wine called Prosecco from the Glera grape. Did I get that right? Yeah, Glera grape. You can also call it Prosecco. There's a reason it has to be from Veneto in order to be called Prosecco. Also, Friuli has an area there where they can make Prosecco. So outside of that, they can't use that designation. And we understand that. That's protecting our region, our area. You know, and you know, if we were doing it, we'd be proud of it, and we would want that for ourselves. Let's continue scent searching this Sephora. Very challenged on the nose. I'm not sure. I'm not really getting anything. Maybe a slight hint of like a dusty pear action. Let's see what we got. There you go. Get a little bit of that kind of bread doughy, yeasty thing going on. Lemon zest, orange peel, very bracing. Feels like I just, you know, took a little lemon juice and squirted on my Fruit Loops and popped them in my mouth. I mean, it's delicious. I mean, it's just hanging. The citrus notes are just hanging in there, but you got that nice little bit of just a touch of sweetness on the back end. This is a very dry. Sparkling wine. 12% alcohol. That's what I love about sparkling wines. They're just not. Well, and you would expect that from New Zealand because you know, they have some cooler areas up there. Probably up in the north. I don't see an appellation on this. It is non-vintage. Wow. Nothing on the nose, but boy, when you drink this, it's delicious. Woo! I could just, oysters, any sort of a clams, oysters, any shellfish, this would be delicious. Amazing wine. And that's another thing, you know, I realize that most of us think about bubbles when the holidays come, but it's a white wine, and it's a delicious white wine, and it goes great with so many foods. This one, just oysters all day, baby. It'd be perfect. You know, it's 18 bucks. A lot of us spend more than that on a Chardonnay, or, well, maybe not a Sauvignon Blanc, but sometimes. And you know, it's a good value play. And man, this thing is just the finish just keeps going and going. That is stupid good. All right. Sephora, I'm going to give it an A. It's a classic. I mean, the aromas, you know, I could deal with not smelling it. I believe there's a lot of you out there that do not take the time to smell your bubbles. You know, you don't geek it up as bad as many of the wine guys do, but that's, you know, I can understand that. I have encouraged you many times to smell your wines. It enhances the experience. It's true with sparkling wine, but sometimes, you know, like in the first one in the Sephora, nothing there hardly. But the Sephora delivers on the palate. Love that wine. All right, on to the next one. Let's see. Now we're going to move on to Gruet out of New Mexico. And imagine these are samples that were given to me, and they gave me the smaller bottle, but the price is in there. Give you at least a picture of the Gruet bottle. Imagine this one is a full-size bottle, and this is the Gruet Brut. So We haven't talked yet much about, I'm going to rinse this time. We haven't talked too much about the designations, and this is bizarre the way they do this, I think. Brut is dry, extra dry is not as dry as brut. That makes any sense to you. Then there's sec, demi-sec, which are sweeter versions. And now they have, and this is getting quite vogue, they have extra brut, brut natural, and no dosage brut. Now brut has to be under at least 15 grams of sugar. Extra brut under 6 grams. Brut natural under 3 grams. Then you get into a different area when you get into extra dry sec and demi-sec. So this is brut. It means it is under 15 grams of sugar. It's going to be a little bit drier. Gruet out of New Mexico. They've been getting some nice accolades for their wines. So brut is mostly Chardonnay. I looked up on their website. They don't really give their blending because they can use Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Meunier are the 3 grapes traditionally used in Champagne, and some of the domestic versions use those same 3 grapes. But more than likely it is predominantly Chardonnay, which would be drier. If it said Blanc de Blanc on it, it would be 100% Chardonnay. If it said Blanc de Noir, it would be mostly Pinot Noir, if not 100%. So let's do some scent searching on this Gruet. Right off the bat, bread dough. You know, kind of that yeasty bread dough, a little marzipan. Almonds, I get some almonds on that, which is quite nice. A little bit as like a warm spice action. And there's some apples and pears coming through. Now you see this one's very aromatically, it's much better than any of these other ones. Let's see what we got. A lot more nutty on the palate, which I like. It has this like sweetness on the back end, but it's very nutty. You get a lot of nuts on this one. You get a little bit of yeast. Almost like a roasted nut with a little bit of honey drizzled on it. Very intriguing wine. It doesn't go. I know it's a brut, but there's that definite sweetness, almost like this drizzled honey over like almonds and walnuts. And then there's just a touch of like pear on the backside. This one rolls in at 15 bucks. I think I forgot to mention that. You know, $15 is good value play, and it's got that kind of a Veuve Clicquot-ish sort of thing going on, although that doesn't go that far in the element of yeast and bread dough and marzipan and all that. I think a lot of people are going to like that little sweet edge on the backside. It has a little like apple skin or pear skin component on the backside. Definitely a bigger, weightier sparkling wine in the mouth. I'm going to give that one a solid B plus, A minus. Good bottle of wine. Let's move on to the next one. So this is the Gruet Blanc de Noir. Like I said, I looked on their website and they didn't say whether it was 100% Pinot Noir or not, but it could be. This one also rolls in at 15 bucks for a full-size bottle. Okay, see what we got. Do a little scent searching. Make a comment if you think that sounds stupid. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking for a phrase. I just want to, let's give it a smell, kind of like, okay, that's kind of boring. Wanted to add something else to it. So I'm going to call it scent searching for now, unless you guys can come up with a better idea for me. Let me know. Get a lot of sweet apples, a little bit of sweet pear, Asian pear on this one. I get definitely a spice component coming through on the backside of this one. almost like, it's interesting. It's like a little bit of some sort of a tree branch thing going on. It's interesting. A lot of people go, well, how can that be Pinot Noir? It's white. Well, as we've discussed before, all red grapes except for Alicante Bouschet, as far as I know, produce white juice. It's when they lay it on the skins that the colors from the skins come up into the wine, and that's where we start getting the rosé sparkling wine, which we have one right here, where they leave it on skin contact long enough to give it some color, a little pinkish color. Anyway, let's give this a try, see what we got. This one's a little not quite as exciting as the Brut. Not as much going on. I get a little like a sweet, like a little bit of a Bing cherry thing going on, like Rainier cherry maybe. It's almost like a Rainier cherry with a little squirt of lemon juice. I get a little bit of a burnt match component on the back end. Again, there's much more in the mouth. Yeah, there's definitely like a Rainier cherry thing, you know, the lighter cherries. And a little bit of a burnt match on the backside. I get a little lemon zest kind of blended in there. You know, it's not bad. It's $15. Both of them are $15. I think this one seems to be a little bit sweeter to me on the palate than the Brut, although that Brut had that little like honey drizzle thing. This one has like a sweet Rainier cherry thing going on the finish. Maybe a little bit of apple. Definitely can taste that like little burnt match sort of yeasty thing on the backside. I'm going to give that one a B. I think it's a good bottle of wine. I think some people will like it. It's definitely above average. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to do the rosé last, by the way. Even though it's a Gruet, we're going to go on to the Treveri Blanc de Blanc. Remember what I told you? Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay. Now, Treveri is out of Washington State. I got to visit their facility one time. They make some amazing sparkling wines, and they do everything. Sparkling Gewürztraminer, sparkling Riesling, they do sparkling Shiraz or Syrah, they do a ton of stuff, and they do it very well. I have not been disappointed with anything from Treveri. This one rolls in at $14, which I think is a tremendous value. Take a look at the label. They got some pretty good press. One of the Seattle daily newspapers recently, and they deserve every bit of that. And I'm not coming in as prejudicial. I haven't had their Blanc de Blanc yet, which is an extra Brut, and remember, extra Brut means it's under 6 grams of sugar, so it's on the drier side, a little drier than a Brut. Let's do some scent searching. Woo! Wow, that one caught me off guard. First thing that comes to my mind is sweaty armpits. Seriously. Almonds. Almonds, like somebody took some almonds and rubbed them under the armpits. Don't mean to gross you guys out. A little bit of yeast. Definitely almonds. Definitely armpit. Maybe backdrop of pear. Very interesting nose. Now you can't let that like turn you off, because I know a lot of you guys aren't going to sit there and stick your nose in it like that anyway. But those are the aromas that I'm getting. Those are the scents that are coming out to me. Let's see what we got. Wow, this is the most intriguing sparkling wine. I get pine tar, kind of a pininess, like you chewed on a pine branch or a pine needle. Pine needle. It's just hanging there with, it's like a combination of pine needle and ginger and lemon zest, a little bit of, maybe a little bit of orange in there, squirted a little bit of, mandarin orange juice on there. Bubbles are more refined than the rest of these. Well, actually the Gruets, bubbles were a lot more refined. This is an intriguing bottle of wine. Wow. And that ginger kind of pine, lemon zest, orange, all just kind of hangs on the back of the palate. Another sparkling wine that screams for shellfish or anything that would require a super dry white wine. That's the baby I would go for. I mean, I could do oysters with that all day. I also get that almond hit right on the top. It kind of sneaks over the top, like somebody crushed some almonds over the top of that. If anything, this is the most interesting sparkling wine I've tasted in a while. And I'm not sure if everybody is going to jump on the bandwagon on this one and say, wow, I love this one. But if you're really into interesting wines, very dry sparkling wine, you like that lemon zest, citrus thing going on with a little other interesting factors, this baby will do the trick. And it's only, what did I say, 14 bucks. Excuse me, that's the one thing about sparkling wine, it makes you burp. I'm going to give this one an A. I think it's well made, good acidity, good balance, a lot of interesting things going on. Forget the armpit thing. Most of you aren't going to smell it anyway, but if you do, I encourage you to try and find that in there. It's not off-putting, it's just a scent that you get. Very interesting, and this is a beauty. I like it. $14. I'm giving that one an A. Let's move on to the next one. So we're going to finish with the Rosé, Gruet out of New Mexico, Brut Rosé, Method Champenois. I guess they all are. All the Gruets are Method Champenois, so they do the whole disgorging, dosage thing. Aging in the bottle, second fermentation is done in the bottle. This one rolls in at 16 bucks. So very interesting. I find rosé sparkling wine, or especially rosé champagne, to be some of the best stuff in the world. But just to put this in perspective, and I'm not going to say that this is anything like Roeder Cristal out of France, but their rosé rolls in for over 550 bucks a bottle. Krug Rosé, $600 a bottle. It's redunculous what they have, what they charge for the rosés in France. But they're in high demand. Absolutely incredible wines. I've had the opportunity to try a couple of them because of my good friend Dionysius. Thank you very much. Went to one of his New Year's parties and he opened some amazing champagnes. Krug Rosé, Roeder Cristal Rosé, Krug Clos de Mel. I mean, just ridiculous. In the very end, a Biacart Salmon, 1961, that was absolutely gorgeous. I don't even want to know what he paid for that. So let's look at this Gruet, Brut Rosé, Method Champenois. So secondary fermentation happens in the bottle. They riddle it. All the yeast and lees fall down to the bottom. They dip it in a brine. They take the lees out. They're frozen. They take them out. They put a little dosage, a little concentrated grape juice to fill it up. Cork it. And there you go. So Brut Rosé, Pinot Noir. Let's do some scent searching. A lot of strawberries, yeast, bread dough on the nose. So, like I said, 16 bucks for a rosé, getting a wonderful aromas on the nose. I love it. Strawberries, a little pear action. Very, as someone say, and I don't use this way, this is very pretty on the nose. It's just, it's just a gorgeous nose. I'm going to go, it's gorgeous. Wow, you can definitely taste, the Pinot Noir in this. Strawberries, cherries, just fill the palate. I mean, this is like a 10 in the delicious category. I mean, it's just like, you get a little bit of apple content on the backside, fills the palate. The bubbles are big. But of course, I'm sloshing around my mouth, that stirs it up a little bit, which I didn't mention earlier, but certainly has an effect on it. If you want to try a rosé for the first time, this would be the place to go. Gruet, $16. I know it's available in a number of places. If you're in the state of Washington, which is where I'm at, Gruet is distributed by Noble Wines. So if you go to your local wine shop guy and you say, do you have Gruet? And he goes, Gruet, what? Well, it's out of New Mexico. It's out of New Mexico, and it's distributed by Noble Wines. They will know who that is, because Noble Wines is a pretty big distributor in the state of Washington. They even go over to eastern Washington, over to Spokane. I'm sorry. I'm probably going to finish that one off after we close. So the holidays are coming up. I encourage you to drink sparkling wine all year. I don't need an excuse to drink sparkling wine. I'll drink it just because I woke up that day. I love sparkling wine. I love champagne, like I said. And I know a lot of you are going to be drinking it this Christmas. You're going to be drinking it on New Year's. So here's some nice values for you. Search them out. Ask your local wine guy, have you heard of this? Can you find this for me? Sephora, again, distributed by Noble Wines. So, yeah, good stuff. Treveri, Cordon Wine Selections out of Seattle, distributed by them. American Northwest distributes Borgo Alata. And then the first one I tried, the VC, is distributed by Columbia Distributing, huge distributor, if you're interested in that one. So thanks for joining me. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Christmas Eve, we're going to be tasting a couple of Amarones. I'm looking forward to that one. Have a good day, and thanks for watching. Here's to keeping the snob out of wine. Cheers.